So the simple tragedy I want to remind you guys of today is that unproven allegations can live on the internet forever and ever. And if a larger YouTuber makes unproven allegations against a smaller YouTuber, it does not matter how eloquently, how powerfully, or how definitively the smaller YouTuber proves the allegations to be false.
Does everyone just believe everything people say without any evidence?
We use the term witch hunt rather liberally in English, and from time to time when talking about these scenarios, I point out to people there's a difference between a witch hunt going on in a country where witches are just a stereotype, just a cultural concept, or an echo from the ancient past. There's a difference between that and a witch hunt in a country where witches actually exist, they actually advertise their services, and they actually put curses on people for a fee. Now, it's a deadly serious subject, but when I was living in Laos and Cambodia, those are cultures that still have a tradition of witchcraft. They still have magicians, for want of a better term, that people pay, sometimes for a magical cure, sometimes for a love potion, but often enough, they're people seeking revenge, they're people who want a curse. And there really are witch hunts. There are people who try to take revenge against some supernatural figure of that kind for some supernatural reason. So when we're talking about these situations on the internet of allegations and counter-allegations, there are really two distinct categories already. There's a witch hunt in those cases where, so to speak, there was at least some actual witchcraft. That doesn't mean it's morally justified to kill somebody just because they cast a spell on you. And again, I don't even believe that the spells work. I don't believe that, curses and incantations have real supernatural effects. But nevertheless, you may live in a society where witchcraft is practiced, and there are situations in which there is no witchcraft, in which the witch hunt itself is by definition an exercise in panic and hysteria, where there can't possibly be the thing to be terrified of being pursued, hunted, and punished. I'm making this video in response to a controversy that I think none of you will care about. I'm going to play a clip now showing you what it's about. There's a big YouTuber called Repzion. He got into a situation where he was really punishing a 16-year-old kid, and his name on YouTube is Kid, so I'm not insulting him by calling him a kid who rants is his YouTube channel. And I've got to tell you something. I am in a position to know from my own experience how allegations of this kind can continue to haunt your life 4 years later, 5 years later, and more, even when they are fabricated out of thin air, even when there was no witchcraft there to begin with, even when there was nothing to be complained about. It can haunt your life, and if you let it, can ruin your life also.
So it all started here. So me, Repzion's girlfriend, and this girl named Alice, we're all hanging out in Canada. So this is where it all started. Repzion was not there. Repzion let Maya go there so he can go to E3 with his sugar daddy, which I will not say the name of because he is also a big YouTuber.
All right.
And I cannot disclose that. Like, I can't put that out to the public. But anyway, so his girlfriend, and if we're playing fire with fire, I have to say it from the start. His girlfriend slept with one of her sugar daddies, ended up getting impregnated by him. When she got back, she told Daniel that it was his, had him convinced it was his, and they weren't. It's all in the messenger. There's no stepping back to this. You will paint a bad picture on anyone's name, and this is why I'm putting this out there right now. She was pregnant with another man's baby, had Daniel convinced that it was his when they got an abortion. She was throwing fits and shit like that. And then Daniel got so defensive and blocked us after we told him everything with proof and everything.
I went through all of that stuff. I talked to this guy who you tried to convince me cheated on, I was cheated on with, and it was absolute bullshit. There was no evidence of that.
Except the pregnancy, I would say that's proof, unless you don't know how babies are made.
Real quick, I want to point out, hey, Repzion, thanks for calling the police on me and making a false child pornography claim. That was real cash money of you.
When these images were posted on Twitter by this ex-fan of mine, the police were contacted, and the police contacted his school, got his parents' information, and got their address, and the police drove out to his actual residence and spoke to this minor.
He posted, I posted an image that's a screenshot of Maya playing with herself in one of her many camgirl streams that she streamed herself from the year 2016 when she was either 19 or 20. And there's a date on it and everything. And then she randomly gets in a Discord call with me and Lauren, and she screams at the top of her lungs about how she was only 15 in that photo.
So the simple tragedy I want to remind you guys of today is that unproven allegations can live on the internet forever and ever. And if a larger YouTuber makes unproven allegations against a smaller YouTuber, it does not matter how eloquently, how powerfully, or how definitively the smaller YouTuber proves the allegations to be false. It doesn't even matter if the larger YouTuber deletes the videos after some span of time, or unlists it, or recants or apologizes. Because the number of people who saw the allegations will be exponentially larger than the number of people who heard them refuted or debunked. So this is like a tragedy built into the structure of YouTube, if not the structure of the internet in general. Now, the reverse may be true if a small YouTuber makes allegations against a large YouTuber, where more people will hear the excuses than will hear the allegations. So there are other dynamics to be explored. But today I'm sticking to this one scenario, a scenario I have had to survive, and that this kid, his YouTube channel is called The Kid That Rants, this kid will now also have to live with and survive. You hear about this years and years after the fact, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, and sometimes you're left wondering, in a context of silence, of hearing nothing back, like when you apply for a job and you just aren't given the interview, and you have to wonder, did I not get offered that job interview because there are these allegations about me on the internet? Because the person who's offering this job, they went on Google, they went on YouTube and searched my name, and they found the allegations, and they didn't find the antidote to the allegations. They didn't find the proof that these are ridiculous and false. Now, I don't want to digress into details too much. My regular viewers already know the whole story. But in my case, the allegations were very obviously, very demonstrably false from day one. They were allegations about my sex life, but none of the allegations were actually made by women who'd had sex with me. None of them were even made by women who had ever met me or even flirted with me over Skype or over the internet or what have you. They were invented by a guy who was at that time a very large, very influential YouTuber, Durianrider, in concert with his girlfriend or wife, who was an even larger YouTuber, Freelee. They did a hatchet job on me, trying to ruin my life, or however you want to put it. But there wasn't a single allegation coming from a woman who even talked to me. And one of the few names they specified was that they pointed to this girl, Julia Bohr, who was then 16 years old. And Julia said openly, at that moment, no, this is untrue. She had never met me. She'd never had any flirtation with me. She said, and she never made up the story either. So it was immediately shown that the allegations were invented maliciously by Durianrider. The girl in question had not in any way participated, and she didn't back up his story. She didn't even play along with the drama. It was absolutely obvious from day one that these stories were false. And if you think that's the most laughably obvious false part of the allegations against me, as the witch hunt ensued, actually no, the allegations became more laughable, more ridiculous. They became more difficult to believe even if you never heard my side of the story. They seem more and more like someone who was just generating internet drama, making stuff up off the top of their head. How could I have possibly been in Scotland sleeping with this person who said they never slept with me? How could I have been in Quebec? I was apparently flying all around the world simultaneously, having affairs with all kinds of people who didn't even exist, much less had any of them made a statement on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere else. So all of this was, in a word, just nonsense. I still hear back about it to this day. I heard back about it when I posted in a Reddit group a link to a video I did on politics, totally unrelated topic. It was basically a video talking about a right-wing YouTuber and asking how right-wing are they really, because like they might be way over the lunatic fringe end of the right wing kind of thing. That sort of political discussion. And right away in the comment section, there were these statements about my private sex life, about these scandalous allegations. And I jumped in and said, hey, look, I understand you're repeating these allegations that are still on the internet, but you should know the guy who made those allegations deleted them and apologized for them.
What caused this, what instigated this? I guess Dr. Evil. Dr. Evil, who I guess I maybe own a... I'm not sure if I own an apology to him, but maybe a thank you.
So he doesn't support that story anymore. Everyone else involved with this deleted or apologized for their side of the allegations. And I made a series of YouTube videos that absolutely spell out step by step that each one of those is completely false and always was. So if you want to know, it's out there, right? Let me tell you something. When you are the smaller YouTuber, you can never win in these discussions. Like even in that specific discussion with that specific person, and of course a bunch of other people on Reddit jumped in and joined, I didn't win. Like I didn't convince this person to be reasonable or consider the evidence or anything. But for every one person like that who takes the time to tell you that their opinion of you is shaped or warped by these allegations, there are innumerable thousands who will never tell you. And most of these people, they just never even think it through. They just adopt these hostile attitudes. They just join in the witch hunt really without thinking through in the slightest how it is they know what they think they know or why they feel what they think they feel about you. I'm guessing a lot of people listen to YouTube videos like while they're washing the dishes or while they're driving their car in traffic. They're in some kind of super passive unthinking state of like hypnosis, taking on this kind of gossip and drama. And again, like in my case, like not even thinking through the geography or what motivated the person to make up this story about me in the first place. Why is this being told to you? Why does my YouTube channel matter? Then why do they think this about me? Like they're not scrutinizing it even to the same extent that they scrutinize, say, allegations against Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and his private sex life. There's at least some sort of process of skepticism. Most people, they sort of started with this skeptical burden of proof thing where it's like, well, even if this story is true, why is it being told to me now? Why was it uploaded in this particular place? Why did the news come out in the way that it did? It's fine to ask those questions. You should also do the research and find out the answers. In the case of Joe Biden, I actually do think those allegations, it's reasonable to presume that they're true, having done the reading and so on. But there's some kind of procedure there. And it seems like the vast majority of people, especially YouTube viewers, they just, if that part of their brain is functional at all, when they sit here and listen to gossip, allegations, and drama on YouTube, they just have it turned off. I hope it's because they're driving the car or washing the dishes. I hope there's some excuse in their life. I hope it's not just stupidity. But let me tell you something. Stupidity is real. I'm recording this video in the year 2020. I'm in the middle of an epidemic, a global pandemic. There is this disease going on all around the world. And there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But I was looking at the local job listings, and there were jobs advertised for the hospital here. I have no medical license. I have no medical training. But there were some very, very humble jobs being advertised for at the hospital that did not even require a high school diploma. And of course, because most people are afraid of getting this virus, most people are afraid to die, it's very hard for them to find and recruit staff. And I had various thoughts in my mind. I decided to apply for the job. So 2 of the jobs I remember applying for, I forget if there was a third. One of them was literally the laundry detail in this hospital. So you can imagine, you go to the bedrooms, you collect the linens off the beds. Probably a lot of people in the hospital are pooing in their beds, whatever. You collect the soiled linens, you take them down to the laundry room, you do the laundry. I don't think that job actually included making the beds again afterwards. I don't know. But anyway, the linen duties at the hospital does not even require a high school diploma. But for various reasons, I would kind of regard that as morally uplifting in the current circumstances to volunteer for a job like that. This would be a moment in history where I'd be able to look back at it and remember, oh yeah, when that epidemic happened, I did my part. I tried to help. I tried to volunteer. And one of the other jobs was a little bit like a security guard in the hospital, but your job was technically to accompany patients from A to B. So you can imagine, sometimes these are people you're actually rolling along in a bed with wheels. Sometimes they're people who are walking but with difficulty, or they may just be walking but they're in a somewhat altered state of mind because they're on painkillers, they're in whatever situation they're in at the hospital. But there's apparently a job in the hospital where you accompany people from the front desk to the operating room, or from the front desk to their bedroom, or whatever it is, that they need people who are at the hospital and guide people from A to B, sometimes physically carrying them or helping them along, but making sure they don't get lost and don't go to the wrong place. Does not even require a high school diploma. Here's the thing. As nasty and inconvenient as it may be to have people sending you insults on Reddit or relating that they still regard these allegations as verbatim true, even though they're obviously laughably false, as annoying and frustrating as that may be, the long shadow of having allegations against you on the internet is that when you don't get offered a job like that, when you apply for a job you are qualified for or overqualified for, and in this case, the people hiring say they're desperate to hire because they can't find anybody because there's an epidemic going on. Minimum wage job, doesn't require a high school diploma. When you don't get that job, nobody is going to take the time to explain to you why. And you're left sitting there wondering, could it be just maybe because a bigger YouTuber with hundreds of thousands of viewers or millions of viewers, because they made allegations against me, even if it was 4 or 5 years ago?